Hey folks, welcome to April 2022's delayed Patreon Q&A session here on the Golden Bolt. As I said to the patrons, thanks for holding on a couple days. I needed to get that last Ratchet video out because of a deadline, and this just kind of fell by the wayside, in part because of that, and in part because I had forgot to ask again, hey, put in some questions, because I had like 2. And thanks to Even, I now have 3. So it's going to be a shorter one today, but the first question I know I'm going to talk about for a long time, so it's going to be a really cool one. And that is from Nathaniel Foga, who asks, what was the first convention you ever went to? And there's a long story to this one, and actually it's really important to the channel and to me personally, which is that I went to Too Many Games 2015. That was the first one that I went to, and it was because I went to school down in Philly for the first semester and a half of college, essentially. And in 2015, a lot of things happened to me. Or I shouldn't say to me, because that sounds selfish. A lot of things happened in my life where my stepfather was dealing with, and then later in January of 2015, passed away from cancer. So he had been struggling with that for a little while, and that was obviously a pretty big bummer, to say the very least. That was a big hit. On top of the fact that when I was at that school in Philly, they simply put messed up my financial aid package amount that they had said that I was going to get between scholarships and financial aid, and it's very expensive school, as they all are at this point. But I was supposed to be slotted to pay like $1,000 per term, and I don't come from money. Like, I'm not, like, I'm more well off now than I ever have been in my life. And part of that is because of this channel, but I grew up poor. So between financial aid and everything else, it would have been hard to do $1,000 a month anyway. And I was working, when I was in high school. I was working 35 hours a week on top of having a bunch of like 5 or 6 AP classes, and still having a social life. High school was weird for me. It was weird compared to what you usually expect, but I was doing that to save money to pay for college. And then I found out that they were like, actually, we want $10,000 per semester. And I said no, because how the hell, I don't have credit. I'm 18, now 19. My stepdad didn't have credit because he was now dealing with cancer and didn't have health insurance. So, all of his cards are maxed out trying to deal with radiation therapy or chemo or whichever one he was getting. And anyway, point is, it was a really, really fun time, clearly. And so when I came back home in spring of 2015, it was interesting because, my stepdad's passed away. My mom has decided to move down to be with family down south in Florida. No, I'm not from the South, but she has family down in Florida. And so I didn't exactly know where I was going to go. So I moved in with my good buddy Jake, who is, he's a brother to me. And I'm still actually living with them today because it's just, we've been fixing up the house together as much as we can. And, it's a good place and it's family. So that didn't stop at the time. That feeling really shitty. So I was dealing with all these things on top of the usual expectation that people have when you're talking about the first 22 years of somebody's life, at least in the US generally. You go to school, you go to college, and then after 4 years of college, you're supposed to know what you're supposed to do in life. Or at least you have an idea, and from there, your track is a little bit different from person to person to person. So for me, somebody who was, I was top 11 or 15 in my class or whatever it was. I was near the top 10 of my class. I'm a pretty smart guy, I like to think, even though I'm an idiot. To go from having a lot of the answers to those sorts of questions and being as knowledgeable as people can be in high school when you know nothing, to having no idea what I'm going to be doing. I had to reset everything. I had to go back to my old job, and to save a lot of money to afford local school here where I'm at now. Needed to buy a car because I didn't have a car because we didn't have money for a car when I was in high school. All this sort of stuff. And so the short of it was that I looked at Too Many Games as a thing that would be fun to go back down to Philly and hang out with my buddies down there from college and just spend that time that we didn't have because I wasn't really able to be there for the last 5 months of what would have been school. So the reason, though, beyond that was that there's one YouTube creator who had mentioned that he was going to be there, and I was a big fan of his. I still am a big fan of his, and you all know him pretty well. I don't think I've ever told him this story. This is Some Call Me Johnny, who is now somebody who's like actually a friend, which is it's very humbling, you know? So in one of his update videos on YouTube or whatever, he said, you know, I'm going to Too Many Games, I'm going to have a panel for the first time, it'll be a good time, you know, you should go. And we had thought about going in prior years, I think, but that was the good, like, there's no reason not to. You know, I think I needed it. I needed to like catch up with friends and just figure out some sort of like extra entertainment to take my mind off of the really shitty year that was 2015 for me. And so we all went, and it was one of those things where like I only had a couple things in mind that I wanted to do there. You know, hang out with my friends, buy some games, and you know, meet some of the creators that were there that I was following because, you know, they had entertained me for a long time throughout high school. And then in 2015 especially, and in 2014 when things were getting pretty not great, they were comfort, you know? So it was funny because we got to Too Many Games, and we're in line to get tickets, or to use our tickets, rather. And somebody had stopped John, literally at the entryway. So, like, that was, like, one of the three things I wanted to do was, like, checked off right there. I bothered him for a couple minutes, we chatted, and, yeah, I think I had him sign my Metroid Prime. I had bought Metroid Prime because of his videos, of course, and I fucking love Metroid Prime. Like, good ass game. Holy shit, what a fucking hot take, I know. But that game just roped me in at a really good time that I needed it. You know, even though that's a game about isolation, that kind of clicked in a good way for me at the time, despite not wanting to be isolated. It was a good outlet. So I had him sign my copy of Metroid Prime, and we chatted. I think I took a picture. I don't know that I still have it. I might throw it up if I do. It's a really shitty picture because my phone's on actually 1% battery, so I just tried to snap it as quick as I fucking could. And it's just our awful camera angle. We look stupid. I don't think I've ever told him any of this story. And yeah, so it was cool. You know, it's a cool fan interaction sort of thing. And the reason that's important is not just like, you know, oh, it's cool to meet people that have helped you, you know, entertained you, whatever, you know, that sort of thing. It was because that was the catalyst for me finally saying, I'm going to do this YouTube thing. I'm going to make content because, and again, I don't think I've ever told him this, like he was one of, if not the number one inspiration at the time for me actually starting the channel. Not necessarily like in terms of format, because there were a lot of creators who like I styled my original format off of, between like Completionist, John, to some extent Antude. He was more of a later inspiration. People like that who, like, a lot of them I now am lucky to call friends. And so so he was an inspiration in that regard, but it was more like when we were at the convention, he said the one piece of advice that I hate, or that I hated, I should say, which was, someone asked him at his panel, which was like this fiasco of a panel because it was his first panel. They did not expect him to have as many people wanting to come to the panel, so they booked him in panel room 3 or whatever. And the line was out the door, and then back in the door, and then out the door again, genuinely. So they moved him to like the concert hall, and it still wasn't enough room for everybody. And they had no microphone set up because he was supposed to be in a panel room, so he's just yelling at the crowd, essentially. And so I stayed for a bit of that, and then I left because I couldn't really hear anything. But one of the things that he had said at that point was, you know, if you're going to, someone asked him if you know, what did you do when you started YouTube? How do you start? What do you do? And John said the advice that every YouTuber at this point gives, which is just start. And I liked it at the time because that was the catalyst for me to say, yeah, why the fuck haven't I started? And I'm very grateful for that. But then later on in my YouTube career, for lack of a better term, I started doing a lot of work. Well, actually, immediately, pretty much, I started doing work with and on YouTubers, this community of content creators that I own and run with my good buddy Moriarty. And so I've helped so many creators over the years that I started hating that just start concept, because it's not tangible help. It's just motivation. It's just get it out of the way. And it's important that you do, because if you're ever going to start anything in content, and I don't know that any of you are interested in that are watching this, but if you are, you know, heed this advice, get your reps in. It doesn't matter if you're self-conscious. It doesn't matter if you don't think it's going to be good. It's going to be bad. Your first video is going to be bad. Watch my Sly 1 video. My first Sly 1 video, not the second one or the compilation featuring the second one. Watch the first one. It's bad. I'm proud of it. It's bad. I'm proud of how bad it is because that was a leap that nobody takes. Think of how many people want to do something and just sit there and want to and don't. And taking that leap is so important, and then continuing and getting those reps in because you will not be perfect ever, most likely. Maybe there's a chance, but I doubt it. None of us are ever going to be there. So put something out, watch it a month later and cringe at it and hate every essence of it and use that as fuel to get better. And anyway, that's a whole different thing from what I was saying. But the point was that advice that John had given is now the advice that I do agree with. And that's the advice that every YouTuber is going to give you is just start, because so many people want to start. They talk about starting. I can't tell you between YouTubers and friends and mutuals and whatever, how many people talk about wanting to do something and just don't fucking do it. And there's nothing more infuriating to me than that now, even though I hated the phrase just start before, with time comes wisdom, clearly. Just fucking put it out. Make something, put it out. If you're not happy with it, you can always make it again. I've done it like 5 times. My Ratchet videos, I have old Ratchet 1, 2, and PS4 videos that are there. You can watch those. They're not good, but what I say is remarkably pretty consistent between the last 6 years between those videos. And it's because, there's some stuff that's changed, and as opinions change and as people change, but it's the delivery of those things. I was delivering those things as me back then in those first few videos before I realized that I needed to be more interesting. And I needed to put on the wrestling style persona of the Golden Bolt being me turned up to 11. And that's just who I am now, because I just started and I felt the cringe of hearing my own voiceover and hating my own voice that everybody does. I felt the cringe of learning how to edit and doing it poorly and hating the editing when you go back and look at it. That is fuel. So use that shit. And this was not meant to be a motivational speech when I first was asked about a video game convention that I went to, but the answer is Too Many Games 2015, and it's a very very landmark moment looking back that we decided to go, as far as my life is concerned, because I don't know what my whole outlook looks like if not for that event, if not for me using that event to decide, yeah, fuck it, I am just going to start. And it took me a year after that to start still, because I was planning stuff out and overthinking it. Just fucking start. Just fucking do it. Don't spend 6 months like me planning. It will all go out the window immediately once you realize you don't know how to edit and all that stuff. But, so that's a convention that I hold very, very close. Too Many Games every year is a very special time. Not just because of that, just because there's so many people and friends that I get to see and meet, and now fans that I get to interact with. I've done so many panels there at the previous years. And, yeah. So I think that's a long enough answer. Jesus, 13 minutes. I have another question from A Double, which is not going to be as long because I did screen these questions ahead of time to see if I could get any good answers. I did not have a great one for this one, but I'm going to try. What are your favorite crossover content in games? So A Double says that he enjoys the Capcom Versus and Super Robot Wars titles plenty, and sometimes seeing all the small odd appearances a la Samurai Showdown getting Last Blade and Guilty Gear characters in their last DLC pack. That's pretty cool. For me, I'm a big fan of the good cameo. I love seeing little sneaky cameos. Obviously, the big crossovers are cool. There's stuff obviously Smash Bros is just unparalleled. PlayStation All-Stars I very much enjoyed for the same reason, even if it wasn't as cohesive as it probably could have been due to Sony. All these sorts of things. But I really, really like seeing in... I don't want to just go with Ratchet & Clank because I really don't want to think about Ratchet & Clank much anymore, but that's the one that's going to come to mind. In Rift Apart, having Sly Cooper and having references to Sly and Jack, and what was it, Infamous was in one of the lore orbs, I think, maybe. I'm forgetting. I haven't played that game in a year now at this point. all those little teases. I just love seeing that sort of shit, and it just tickles me in a very pleasant way. That's not a very great answer. What else could I say? Oh, I'll give you one. Fucking Yakuza had New Japan Pro wrestlers in their in Yakuza 6, Kiwami 2, 7? Were they in 7? They might have been in 7. I don't think they were in 7, but 6 and Kiwami 2 for sure. And that is just the perfect fit. It's just so stupid and over the top, and it's just it's great. It's so good. So I'm gonna say that one too, even though it's a real life crossover. Yeah. Also, PlayStation All Stars Island, sponsored by Coke Zero. That's one more. And then I have one more question here from Even Luck, also known as the Crazy Even on YouTube. If you don't follow him, you probably should. What kind of non-game music do you listen to, if any? And it can't just be All Hail Bucket's trademark on Spotify trademark. So I do listen to a lot of All Hail Buckets on Spotify. You can find his link in the description below. He's the guy who does the Golden Bolt theme, who did the Golden Bolt theme and has done all the permutations of it. And he has some really good music on his own, and just great stuff. And people may not know this, but I actually do some of the PR marketing stuff sort of for his stuff. So like there's a lot of cross-pollination between the All Hail Buckets brand and the Golden Bolt. So to the point that maybe I'll reveal this. I don't know if it'll let me reveal this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. You can hear me say in every one of his songs, +1. I think I popped the mic when I said that. I'm gonna move back the mic and say it one more time. +1. The old PS Plus series I did. That's part of his like producer tag. It like +1 is in it, as well as the bloodstained. So yeah, I'm there. So anyway, other music beyond that I listen to. I'm weird with music. I have like one fucking massive playlist of pure entropy, of pure chaos that I just lean into because I know that I won't organize my playlists well, because I only listen to music really in the car or when I'm at the gym. I don't really like actively seek it out beyond those two times for no good reason. It's just one of those things that doesn't occur to me. Like, I don't know. Like it's weird. Like, it's funny because I'm actually learning I'm learning a little bit of music right now on the piano for the first time in years, just because I wanted to do something new. And so it's funny that like I'm learning music, but I don't think much about music outside of those moments or the ones that I mentioned before. But I'll throw out like a couple. I'll throw out a couple that are gonna be very. I'm gonna pull up my Spotify. Hold on. I'm gonna give you my Spotify. I'm just gonna read some artists from my playlist, which is 9.5 hours long currently. It would be longer if I kept adding music to it whenever I think about adding songs to it, but I don't do that because I forget to. I think about it and then I'm like, oh, I'll add it next time I'm in the car, and then I'm in the car and I don't add those songs. So I enjoy me some Post Malone. I think he's hilarious. I don't know that it's intentional that he's hilarious, but I think he's really funny. A lot of people that watched YouTube stuff back in the day might know Joji, formerly Filthy Frank, when he became a serious artist and did serious music. It was okay at first. It was good. I liked it. I vibed with it. His newer stuff is stellar. Like, his newer stuff is incredible. And that stuff hits so many strong different ways, depending on what the mood of that song is. And it's all kind of like really sad boys music, which is always good every now and then. Not like I'm sad or anything, just I like the sad boys music for some reason. That's just the stuff I've been listening to the last couple years. There's a lot of All Hail Buckets on here. There's more All Hail Buckets on here. Let me scroll through. There's some Taylor Swift. I listen to mainly 1989 and a little bit of like Red, but I haven't listened to a lot of her newer stuff because I think it seemed to go too much into pure pop, and I kind of liked the mix that 1989 had, where it was it felt like the prototypical pop album, but every song had a different vibe, to the point that all those songs, I think just about all of them, ended up separately played on the radio and charting on the radio, which is one of the only times that you'll ever see an artist do that. Usually you don't see every track from an artist end up on radio or played somewhere in some major regard. The only other time I can recall that is probably like, Beatles, maybe Guns N' Roses from Appetite for Destruction. I doubt it because there are some on those that you can't play on the radio. And Nickelback, funnily enough. The the Dark Horse, I think was the album. That every song on Dark Horse ended up on the radio at some point, and they just like milked that album for like 4 years, and it was really cool. I don't have Nickelback on here, but I will say there are some Nickelback songs that fucking slap. I have some GNR on here. I have, if you've never listened to, for like rock music, classic rock, Slash from Guns N' Roses, his self-titled album. It's just him playing guitar and a bunch of other random singers from throughout the music industry singing. So you have Adam Levine, you have Chris Cornell, you have Miles Kennedy, you have Fergie, Ozzy Osbourne, Lemmy, Iggy Pop, etc. They're all there and it's just a very different vibe every song. Again, I love albums that have very different vibes on every song, usually. What else do I have on here? I have some Crush 40 on here. I have the Halo theme, because the Halo theme, the Mjolnir mix, is fucking a slapper. I have some Fallout music from like New Vegas, like some of the classic tunes. So Big Iron, Ain't That a Kick in the Head. I don't have Johnny Guitar on here. I should, for the meme. What else? That there's more here. There's more here, but it's like a lot of like random miscellaneous stuff beyond that. So I'll call it there as far as different artists that I listen to. I listen to a mix of everything. I've been like on a hip hop vibe, R&B vibe lately, just because I'm at the gym a lot lately. So the heavy like trap music, sort of what are those called? The ratchets and all that stuff. Those kind of just like they motivate me to run faster and harder when I'm doing cardio or on the treadmill or whatever. So I've enjoyed those. Those are all good. I still listen to some of like the classic rock that I used to listen to when I was younger, because when you're from our generation, your parents listen to the music that they listened to when they were younger, and then that impresses on you. So there's some classic rock I listen to, a little bit of modern stuff, but mostly like not really super modern stuff. There's some meme songs. There's pop music. I have Shaggy on here, because who doesn't love Shaggy? I'm saying a lot of ums today. This was I wasn't going to record this today, so I wasn't ready to get into voiceover me mode. So you're getting real Kevin here. So yeah, if I had to give you one song that I'm going to recommend that I've been vibing with heavy lately, it's from the Peacemaker soundtrack, HBO Max show, John Cena, James Gunn. It's called 6 Feet Under. It plays during, I think, episode 3. That song, as soon as I heard it, I immediately pulled it up on Spotify, because it's like a mixture of like a modern rock song with like a little bit of Ricky Martin in it. And you'll hear it when you listen to it, like the chorus in the background. It's got like a very, very unique vibe to that song, and I fuck heavy with that song. So that is all I'm going to Fantano for today, I think. So thank you to those 3 of you that have asked questions, and for asking very good ones. Not that no one else does ask good questions, but I'm glad that I was able to unintentionally milk this for 24 minutes. That's I'm just going to put one clip of footage over this and upload it, because I don't want to edit right now. So yeah, thank you for anyone who's tuning in, checking this out. If you have any other questions, you can always ask them in the comments below or on the Patreon. If you are a patron member, I will answer every question if I'm capable of doing so. You ask the questions below. I may not guarantee that I'm going to answer them, because it's a Patreon Q&A and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's all. Goodbye. Send tweet.